National Affairs Minister. Sir, you meet them. Sir.
The relationship between Trudeau and I would specify Prime Minister Trudeau as opposed to Canada as a whole, but Prime Minister Trudeau and India is of course not very good. Now this goes back to the Air India bombing. Canada never got to the bottom of especially the funders around that Air India bombing. So this is a wound in Canada-India relations that goes back decades, that I would argue Canada could have done a lot more over the years to rectify, not just for the sake of those relations, but for the sake of Canada's internal security and the security of Canadians. We have a terrorist organization operating on Canadian soil that killed hundreds of people, including Canadians, and that was never fully investigated or eradicated. And that wound has festered and infected larger sections of the population and the society, and needs to be dealt with before anything else can happen. The way it was handled was definitely political in nature. There's certainly, even if it was accurate, there certainly could have been other ways of handling this. So it raises a lot of questions about what are some of the other motivations? And it might be worth people knowing what else is going on in Canada at the moment. And one thing is that they're about to start an inquiry into foreign election interference in Canada. And the main suspect, the reason this inquiry was started was because of Chinese activities in Canada. And the government has been very insistent about trying to broaden that out to the activities of other countries, including Russia, Iran, and India. So this announcement changes the narrative very much around what the government is saying is the foreign problem for Canada, from a China focus to an India focus. He doesn't understand the Sikh population in Canada. The vast majority of the Sikh population in Canada want peaceful India and a peaceful Canada. I mean, it is potentially an attempt to appease a very small, vocal, well-funded, well-organized, and in some cases quite brutal minority that is terrorizing both Sikh Canadians and other Canadians, as well as detrimentally affecting relations with India. So, and also I would say that, the Khalistani organizations are known to have linkages to ISI and through them to China. I mean, this is the who benefits from what was said in the Canadian Parliament. China benefits, Russia benefits, domestic terrorists benefit. So I don't really understand why this was done, even on the very unlikely circumstance that this was the case. There are other ways of doing it, and a major way would be to make sure you have all of the evidence in place, and you've started prosecutions before you do this sort of political act. Canada's political structure is peculiar. So Canada was, we have a parliamentary system like India. The Liberal Party was elected on 30%, a little over 30% of the vote. But they're being supported by the NDP, which is headed by Jagmeet Singh. So, it's a very peculiar thing. The Sikh population is not that big in Canada, and it's not that big of a vote bank. I mean, just in terms of sheer numbers. So I don't know. I don't really understand how, if it is just simply a vote bank issue, how that balances the other, 95 or 96% of the population, even if you're just looking at all of Indo-Canadians. The math doesn't quite add up for that. It is an issue. It definitely is an issue, especially in terms of funding and organization and things like that. But it just logically to me seems to be more than that.